Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV, man. Back at you another video at the content. This video, go smash that like button at the content of this channel. Go and subscribe, man. Look, so Ravens Bengals just ended. The Ravens eke out a victory, right? 35-34 over the Cincinnati Bengals, right? Bengals go for two at the end of the game, don't get it. Ravens covered onside kick. That's how the game ends, right? Obviously, a lot happened in between that, and we'll talk about it, okay? So, I'll talk about the injury first, though. But Kyle Hamilton, very, very important player. Top 2-3 player on the Ravens defense, right? Injured his ankle. All right, he was into the first half. He was guarding Mike Gesicki in the zone, and I think he either stepped on Mike Gesicki's ankle, and it kind of forced his ankle to have some kind of weird flexion, whiplash back and forth, right? That they showed for me way too many times on TV, right? I don't know why they kept showing a replay of it, but hopefully, it's just a really bad sprain because we saw him in the second half on the sideline in a walking boot. So hopefully, it's not too bad for Kyle Hamilton. But after that injury, obviously, he did not return. All right. So stand-up performance, right? I wasn't talking about Kyle Hamilton, but he didn't finish the game. But I thought he played really well in that first half, right? He's one of the guys who's really flying around to the ball. Now, besides him, right, on defense, right, Nnamdi Madubuike, right? So Nnamdi Madubuike, I got his stats right here. We're talking about 3 sacks, 2 TFLs, 5 tackles in total. Really his most impactful game rushing the passer by far this season, right? I don't believe the Ravens passers was great as a whole. I think they let Joe Burrow escape the pocket too much, especially up the middle and to the right. I think they let that happen way too many times. But they did do a better job today of getting pressure, but they got to turn those pressures into sacks. And Nnamdi Madubuike turned his pressures into sacks, right? So got to give him a shout out for that, all right? And then really, right, if we want to talk about what changed this game, it really goes down to 2 players, right? Marlon Humphrey, the strip on Chase Brown when the Ravens are struggling. The Ravens just punted the ball for the 5th time in that game, right? The Bengals are getting the ball back 21-7, and Marlon Humphrey he strips Chase Brown, right? We haven't seen Marlon Humphrey do that in quite a while, strip a player, but it's also because of the position that he's been playing, right? With Kyle Hamilton going out, if you noticed during the second half of the game, Marlon Humphrey was doing a lot of the things Kyle Hamilton would normally do. Slot, line of scrimmage, may come off the edge, may blitz. He had a big hit on Joe Burrow that obviously affected Joe Burrow. You saw him wincing in pain after the hit, right? And honestly, it's a role that Marlon Humphrey is very, very good at. You could see Marlon Humphrey later in his career becoming like a strong safety or something like that if he chose to do something like that, right? But yeah, he stripped Chase Brown, big momentum boost. Ravens ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. That kind of changed the whole game, right? The Ravens didn't have anything going in the first half, right? They go into halftime down 14-7. Bengals score 21-7. Marlon gets that strip. The Ravens aren't stopped again, right? We're talking about 4 straight touchdown drives, right? So you go from 21-7 to 28-21. Bengals score again, and then the Ravens answer right back, right? So that was a huge momentum swing in the game, right? It got the Ravens offense clicking and going. All right. Second player that changed the game was Tylan Wallace, right? Tylan Wallace takes a pass, out route on, I think it was like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4, something like that. And he takes it 84 yards to the house, right? That is Lamar Jackson's longest touchdown of his career. That is obviously Tylan Wallace's longest touchdown of his career as well. Tylan Wallace ends the game with 3 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown, right? He catches all 3 of his targets. So big game for Tylan Wallace, right? So Marlon Humphrey and Tylan Wallace, those 2 guys, you got to give the credit for changing the game. They physically changed the game, right? They imposed their will in the game, a game that wasn't going the Ravens' way, and changed it, right? Those 2 guys did that, okay? So, all right, now, let's back up. Let's talk about the game in general, right? From the offenses, we'll start with the offense, right? For the offensive side of the ball, I thought they never got into a rhythm in the first half, all right? I know people are going to say, well, Derrick Henry only ended up with this amount of carries, right? How many carries did he end up with? He ended up with 16, but I know he didn't have a lot in the first half, right? He probably had around, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around there, right? But to me, it was like the Ravens never found a rhythm in that first half, right? They were getting in thirds downs that weren't manageable. Their timing just seemed a little bit off, right? Whether he was trying to connect with Deontay Johnson or whoever, the time of the offense just seemed a little bit off, right? They just didn't have it going. And honestly, it looked like a lot how the first game was when we played the Bengals as well, right? So the Ravens got to figure that out. But I will say this: everything that was going against the Ravens, right? I would say I don't feel like the team collectively panicked this time, and that's a massive step, right? They still tried to run the ball, right? Lamar Jackson didn't get frustrated; he just kept chipping away at it, right? He was frustrated on some things like the multiple false starts. Ravens were penalized way too much in this game of their own doing, false starts and illegal man downfield, all kinds of things like that of their own doing, right? Way too much. But in terms of frustration level, staying in the game, staying calm, staying level headed. I thought the offense did a good job and kept plugging away, right? And eventually, the dam broke and the offense couldn't be stopped again, right? So I like that, right? Obviously, Marlon Humphrey's play is a big determining factor in that because the Ravens go down 28-7. It's probably game over, right? So Marlon Humphrey, like we already gave him his credit for changing the game, okay? So that's a big thing. I want to give a shout out to Rashad Bateman, right? 6 catches, 54 yards, a touchdown on 8 targets, right? This game right here was a very, very ideal role for Rashad Bateman. Excuse me. He was the chain mover, right? Let's get 8 yards here. Let's get 10 yards here, right? Lamar trusted him to be that guy. He delivered, right? So that was important, right? Then Lamar Jackson, right? Second half, he turned up. I think in the first half, Lamar Jackson might have had 50 yards passing, but that's because he was 8 for 11. So it's not like he was playing bad, right? That's just because the Ravens could not find a rhythm, right? So he ends the game with 290 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 25 or 33. He ends up playing a great Lamar Jackson kind of game, right? So that second half we saw what the Ravens offense usually and has been right over the course of this season. And then Lamar Jackson in himself was amazing, right? The tiptoe down the sideline to avoid going out of bounds, amazing play, right? The floater, the flick of the wrist to Rashad Bateman in the back of the end zone, right? This is the second straight week that we saw Lamar Jackson emulating playing basketball out there on the football field. So not only is he playing at a high level, he's having fun with it, right? So when you're playing with that kind of confidence, that kind of swagger, it's going to rub off on the entire team, right? So Lamar Jackson, this offense really showed that they can fight through adversity like they've done a couple of times this year and come out on the other side of it, right? That's a big boost, okay? I love to see that, all right? Now on the defensive side of the ball, I think they did a lot of what I said in the game preview, right? They were a bend but don't break kind of defense, right? But they broke too often. If you're going to play this style of defense, you have to force field goals, okay? You cannot give the kind of touchdowns the Ravens gave up today, all right? Way too many times, right? The Ravens are playing very, very soft zone. This is the Dean Pease defense, right? This is why Dean Pease was let go before in the past for the Ravens. And then most Ravens fans, if you know, you're not a fan of a Dean Pease defense, right? It's very, very soft. You give up a lot of stuff underneath and short, right? That's who the Ravens are going to be from this point on. Excuse me, all right? So Chase Brown gets a lot of stuff underneath. The Titans get a lot of stuff underneath, right? We're talking about 5-6 yard gains with nobody's around them, right? They're catching the ball uncontested, all right? That's what the Ravens are going to be. So if you're going to be a bend but don't break defense, you have to be elite at getting stops in the red zone. Also, you have to be elite at not allowing explosive plays. And the Ravens did not do that tonight, okay? If we look at Joe Burrow had 428 yards passing. We look at Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, 17 targets, all right? T. Higgins was ruled out of this game. So really, Yoshavas, nice player. Jermaine Burton's a rookie, decent player, whatever. The main person you was worried about tonight, I should say, was Jamar Chase, and you still let him get off. Now he's a great player. You're not going to stop him 100%. But when we watched Mike McDaniel, I always do that. Mike McDonald and his defense, right? They limited the Bengals offense, and Chase rarely had a good game against him, right? I grew up watching the Bengals have AJ Green, right? AJ Green having these phenomenal games versus the Ravens, right? Honestly, Jamar Chase might be worse than that for going against the Ravens, right? The amount of times that he just breaks away and runs past the entire defense. I mean, we're talking about multiple 60-yard touchdowns today for Jamar Chase, right? All right, you can't have that. All right, now listen, I will say this on a positive note about the defense. I thought, like I said earlier, the the pass rush generated more pressure, but those pressures have to turn to sacks. Namdi did that. Owe got back there a couple of times. He had a couple of nice moves. He got a QB hit on Joe Burrow, but you got to bring him down, right? There's a couple of times where he missed Joe Burrow entirely. So the pressures this game is a good start. They need to build on that, but they got to turn into sacks. All right. Um, that's the main part right there. Okay. Brandon Stevens, I thought he was unlucky to not catch the interception or not had the interception ruled against him of not being in bounds. But it was more the same today, right? Not getting your hit around, easy completions. You know, you're pressing the guy like Jermaine Burton at the line of scrimmage. You don't really get hands on him. You give him an easy inside release slant route to a rookie. You know, Jermaine Burton isn't some big guy that boxed you out. It's just, Brandon Stevens is the epitome of I'm there, but I'm not close enough really to make a play. Like I'm there, but I'm not really making a play. You know, Marcus Williams, right? That's poor coverage over the top, right? Not only do you bite down on Gesicki on the end route, you then run to the side of the field where there's nobody at, leaving Jamar Chase wide open for a touchdown over top. Okay, so the Ravens, if you're going to play this soft coverage, give up everything underneath, which is a very, very frustrating, infuriating style to watch as a fan, right? As a fan, you want to see your defense be attacking. You want to see your defense set the tone going against the offense, right? The Ravens defense does not do that. They let the offense dictate towards them. And over the last couple of years with McDonald, we didn't see that, right? We were dictating what what the offense did, right? Because this defense was dominant. We're not seeing that. All right. So if today's going to be any indication of how it's going to be, the Ravens offense are going to have to score a lot of points, but this Ravens defense is going to have to find a way to become an elite unit inside the red zone, right? Between the 20s, you're giving up the easy stuff, right? I don't want to see it, but that's how it's going to be. You're giving up the easy stuff. Okay. When we get down into the red zone, into that winning area of the field, I need somebody to make a play, right? I need somebody to get some stops, okay? Force field goals. You have a good offense. This offense is going to turn you giving the other team 3 points to scoring 7 points down the other end, okay? So you have to be able to give your offense a chance this game. In these games, okay? So the Ravens, worse than the NFL pass defense, didn't look any better tonight, really, in a lot of ways, right? I thought Darius Washington was an improvement of what we've seen from the safety play, but him by himself can't do it, right? Roquan is still giving up a lot over in the middle of the field. At this point, we can't say it's all his fault, right? If we have a defense that was so good last year, and really the only thing that majorly changed was Geno Stone, fine, and Patrick Queen leaving, which we knew it was going to happen, right? And Trent Simpkins is not playing bad to me, right? So that's a coaching problem. I know Marlon Humphrey tried to do his best to deflect it off of that, saying, hey, the players got to play, which is true. You guys got to execute, but the coach has to put the players in the best position to win. I don't think that's happening, all right? But, for this game, it was a big game, right? So the Ravens go to 7-3 on the season. The Bengals fall to, I believe, 4-6, right? The Ravens are still currently second in the AFC North because they have more losses than the Steelers. The Steelers are 6-2. So we'll see what the Steelers do this weekend when they play their game, okay? But for the Ravens to be serious contenders, right, to have the goals and aspirations they want to reach this year, this defense, if you're going to play this way, you have to be better in the red zone, and you have to be better of not giving up explosives, right? The number of 20-yard plus passes has to stop because the whole point of how you're playing is to keep everything short in front of you and make tackles. So you can't give up everything short and give up everything intermediate and get bombed over top. You can't give up all three levels of defense. You can't do that, right? So we'll see what the Ravens figure out, see if there's some changes to be made. But this defensive effort wasn't good enough. They did some good things, right? I'm not gonna say it was all bad, right? Like I said, the pass rush for the first time in some weeks showed life, right? But they got to do more. All right, the Bengals still got up and down the field really too easy. All right, in the first half, the Ravens defense did pretty well. Okay, they held the Bengals to that one touchdown for large stretches of the first half, but after that, it kind of fell off. So for this game, I'm happy with the Ravens offense. I'm happy that, guys are stepping up, coming in clutch, like your Tyler Wallace, like your Marlon Humphrey, right? Like Rashad Bateman. Okay, even Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews this game had 6 catches, 68 yards, and a touchdown, right? That's a big time game for Mark Andrews, right? So different guys stepped up this game. But for the Ravens to get to where they want to go, this defense is going to have to play a lot better. We can't give up 400 yards every game to the opposing quarterback. It just can't happen like that. Uh, but I'll leave it there, right? Ravens improved to 7-3. They win the game. Most important part about that, they sweep the Bengals, right? So any kinds of, well, the Bengals probably got too many losses for tiebreak to come to effect, but they sweep the Bengals. You improve your record in the division to 2-1. All good news there, right? So definitely give me your thoughts and ideas about this game. I reply to all comments. With Gabriel, this is Fan TV. I'm out.